There is a lot of options for infrastructure for cold email. What solution is right for you? In this video, we're going to go through all the different solutions, whether that be in your cold email software itself, or getting separate infrastructure, or building it yourself, or even just connecting standard emails through your CRM. We're going to go through all that. We're going to look at what's best for you. I'm going to help you weigh up your decisions so you know from the start you've got all the information. So who am I to be able to tell you about this? Hi, my name is Louis Newman. I've been working in cold email for the last few years. I was actually in charge of building the email infrastructure for an AI SDR. So I know what I'm talking about on this, and I can help you make that decision. There are a lot of options out there. So I'm going to talk through the benefits and downsides of each individual one to help you make the best decision possible. It was my job to build this email infrastructure. So hopefully I can explain exactly what it all means for you. Wicked. So let's get in. Right. As you can see here, I've just outlined some of the cold email specific softwares you can use and CRMs. You've probably already got a CRM, so I'm not going to dive too hard into that. I'm just going to say that you can just use your CRM if you want to start cold outreach, but there are cold outreach specific softwares. The likes you've probably heard of already is Instantly and Smartlead. They're the two main leaders in this industry. And then you've got some of the smaller ones. You've got Reef Inbox, which is very similar to Smartlead and Instantly. They do exactly the same thing. They have their own email setups built in. Then you've got Lemlist, which is probably the most deliverability focused one of the bunch. With that, you've got Warm, which is one of the best warm-up providers. Just to explain that, just go a little bit into detail there. Warmup is where we send emails between the email addresses you have set up for cold outreach to make it look like it's a normal real email address and not just meant for outreach. And then we've got reply.io. That one's similar to Instantly and Smartlead, but it's going more into the region of AI SDR route. It's just not set up in the same way. So that's the email options, and they vary in pricing. You've got your standard CRMs. I won't dive into the pricing of that because if you're going to use your CRM, you're just going to use the CRM you've already got. So if we're going into Instantly, you're looking at $37 just to get it set up, just start going, and that's 1,000 uploaded contacts and then 5,000 monthly emails. It's great to start. Instantly is the market leader in this space, and they're a market leader for a reason. They've been in there from the start. They started on AppSumo, and it's actually a really valuable platform. It's the one I'd recommend going for if you're just starting out. But then you've got Smartlead, which is its closest competitor. They're trying to do the same thing, but they're probably branching out a little bit more than Instantly because they're also offering their own email infrastructure, which Instantly aren't doing that. They're relying currently on Google Workspace and Outlook emails reselling. Then we've got Reach Inbox. They're very similar to Instantly, but they're a little bit cheaper and they offer a lot more. So when you saw there, we had 1,000 uploaded contacts. For around about the same price, you get 5x the active leads, and that's just how many leads you reach out to in any given month. So you can theoretically upload thousands of leads, but you can only reach out to 5,000 in any 1 month. And with that, you've got 25,000 emails monthly. The AI word credits, I wouldn't really look too hard on that. It's just for replies and drafting your initial emails. But I suspect the majority of your drafting emails aren't actually going to be in the software itself. Maybe you will do some more of that in the likes of Instantly because it's got a bigger ecosystem. So it's got more prompts for creating a good outreach schedule. But if I'm honest, you want to think about your cold outreach strategy separately from the platform. It needs to be something that's right for you and right for your business at your time. But I'm going to create another video on email strategy. So be sure to hit that up if you're interested there. A Smartlead, slightly more so it's double what you get from Instantly because they are the second software. So Instantly is the market leader. Smartlead is in second position there. So you will get more with Smartlead. But again, Reach Inbox, you're going to get 5 times. So if you're just looking for sending bulk, then I suspect Reach Inbox is probably the one to look out for first. But if you're just getting started, then Instantly is a good one to start with. Lemlist, bit more expensive, 3 sending emails per user and you pay per user. So it's all done on actually quality content. I suspect their AI powered personalization is significantly better than the other softwares. It's because they're set up for this. So if you have a smaller audience, let's say, if your target market is considerably smaller and you won't be reaching out to over 1,000 customers every month and you don't want to use your CRM software, then I suspect Lemlist is going to be the one for you, purely because you're going to get better deliverability through the likes of Lemwarm, their use of inbox rotation. So you can do all that. All this is available in the other softwares, but what you're paying for here is Lemwarm, and potentially their AI personalization is considerably better. But again, if you're going down the AI personalization route, you're going to probably do better creating your own or looking for your own content rather than relying on those inside the platform, or using a separate software like Clay to set up notifications when anything happens to a lead, i.e., if you know that your perfect customer, you'll get the most from them when they change jobs. So that at that point, when the most pain for your product is when they've just come into a new company, you can set up a Clay alert for a new person into your target company. And that's when you can hit them when they're in the most pain. Reply.io, they're trying to go more down the AI SDR route. There you go, AI SDR, considerably more expensive. If I'm honest, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're looking to go down the AI SDR route, there is a company called Utopian Labs. Very impressive company. They are doing some really, really, really cool things with creating cold emails. And everything for their company is set up to, you can pick and choose what you want. So they've got several agents. They've got research agents, like you would with Clay. You can research individual leads. And then they've got a copywriting agent. In fact, it's an entire model. There you go. Cold Email 1. It's a model that's better than any others at writing really, really good cold emails. It's cool that Gemini 2.5 Pro is not that far behind, having not been trained on this. But this software, this model will write you a really, really, really nice cold email. And it's trained on all the basics of what a cold email should be. So you're looking at having lots of white space, making the email entirely about the customer, targeting them in their main source of pain, and then giving them a really simple call to action, which is either a yes or no. It's completely aimed at getting a reply. So if you didn't want to go down the entire instantly Smartlead reach inbox route, then Utopian Labs are completely set up to use NAN, and you can just pick and choose from the agents, from the models, what you want to use to get the correct output. But let's jump into emails. So we've looked at the different options for cold email. I should have even put it on here. Let's have it as custom NAN. Completely different section. We've got custom NAN. And with that, I'd highly recommend Utopian Labs. Wicked. And if you've not seen NAN before, it's very similar to Zap, but it's entirely built for the AI agent domain. It's moving forward. So where you've got an agent here, we can just have a research agent for Utopian Labs that researches lead. So we've got a trigger here that finds out when we have a customer in extreme pain, whether that be a form submit or someone clicking on your ad or anything like that, any sort of trigger. We then go into a research agent from the likes of Utopian Labs, and that's when we're going to reach out to them. So you'll research them and then you'll write a cold email through one of their points, and that's going to lead to a yes/no question, and then we can potentially hit them up with a lead magnet through the likes of magnetite.ai. Highly recommend. Anyway, let's jump back into actually email. So then we've got our email providers. We've got two different options here. We've got trusted IPs. That's where you're sending through the likes of Google or Outlook. And all of these options, other than Google and Outlook, are going to be resellers of a different form of provider. And then you've got another option of setting up your own email infrastructure and your own IPs. So Instantly are leading the charge on this, and that is entirely it's nearly entirely Google Workspace. And they are a Google Workspace reseller in the US region. And you have the option of selecting a domain. So I couldn't actually see the pricing on their main website. You go on their main website, you've just got emails and there's nothing to do with pricing. So I had to actually sign up. So as you can see, I've just selected a domain, instanttesting.co, and they'll charge you $5 per email and then $15 for the domain. And those are all set up through Google. It's not actually offering an Outlook at this point in time. Then the other option is pre-warmed emails. So it's an interesting concept. This is where they buy a general purpose domain. So this is fulfillmentdrive.co. And they've bought this general domain and they've added emails with generic first names. So we've got Stephen, Timothy, Stephanie, Justin, and Ronald. And they've purchased those emails. They've purchased this domain on Google Workspace. And they've been warming it for a period of 6 to 8 weeks. So it's just buying back your time to increase your deliverability. So that's all you're getting when you get pre-warmed. It's just you're buying convenience, and that convenience is going to cost you an extra $5 per month for each email. So instead of spending $5 per month instantly, you'd spend $3.5. But the beauty of it being instantly is it's already attached, it's already in your platform, it's all managed through instantly, you don't have to manage separate softwares. You've then got the likes of Namecheap. I wouldn't recommend these. They resell or have bought a company called Private Email. And they are in their terms and conditions, it says you should not use this for cold outreach. But because it's so cheap, okay, so it's 73 cents, it's about $1 a month. They're so bad because people use them for spamming. And because they're used for spamming, they've got a generally bad reputation. So if I'm honest, I think we should immediately discount Namecheap as an option because it's just not going to be, it's not right for cold email. You'll just get problems along the way. They'll end up banning your emails and you're going to get bad deliverability. So it's a lose-lose situation with Namecheap, unfortunately. Even though it's cheap, don't let them pull you in with the price. You'd be better off setting up your own custom infrastructure if you're trying to save money. But we'll jump into that a little later. Then we've got Google Workspace and Microsoft Outlook. So these are going to be, that's like the ultimate in deliverability because each of them is separate. You're not getting them through a reseller, you're getting them direct through Google. And because you're getting them direct through Google, you have an IP that is separate from all of the resellers. It's come directly from Google and therefore you've got better deliverability. However, that is going to come at a premium. So this is coming in at £5.90 per user per month. It's probably going to be around $6, $6.30 for each starter edition, which is, we'd ideally like to pay less. It's $5 with Instantly, but with this, you've got to then set it all up. The benefit of going with Instantly or premium inboxes, the likes of when you set up a Google Workspace, it will already configure you an MX record. So that's going to be done and an SPF record. Those likely will be done. It might not be a strict SPF record. So you've got to make sure that it's strict. Instead of having a wavy line, you're going to have a single dash, and then you'll need to set up DKIM, and that's just to prove that it's you that's sending the email, and then DMARC, and that is also just to set up notifications as to what emails from your domain have come into the likes of Google and Outlook. It's just looking at the uniform of your previously sent emails and what that deliverability is like to the main players. And all of these come in to affect and increase your deliverability rate. So if you were to purchase emails from Instantly, Premium Inbox, or Zap Mail, each of those will already set up email deliverability DNS records for you, whereas you'll have to set them up. We'll go on to what that looks like. In fact, I'm going to do a whole video on a custom email setup, and you'll see exactly how that all works in my other video. But it's a slightly longer, laborious process and different for each of the providers. So for Outlook, you'll need to go into their settings, go into DKIM, copy a string across and put it in your DNS records in your domain provider. So if you're hosted on Cloudflare, that's going to include setting up a new DNS record, probably a TXT. And if it's DMARC, it'll be _DMARC. And then there'll just be a string that you put in. There are providers that help with this, but with the likes of Instantly, Premium Inbox and Zap Mail, it's all done for you. You don't have to worry about it. And it's just set up for perfect deliverability. Right, let's move on to Outlook. You're looking at around $5 to $6 per basic email setup. And setting up Microsoft and Google Workspace emails, lots of different ones on lots of different domains for different providers is very, very tricky because they do not want you to use it for cold outreach. Fortunately, if you wanted to set up Microsoft 365, you can do it through GoDaddy, and it's at a considerably reduced rate for the first year. You're looking at around $2.30, $2.50 per month per mailbox for the first year. So I'll pay 24 Great British pounds, which is probably around $27 in the US for the entire first year. So that's a good way to get started if you definitely want a Microsoft 365 and set it up yourself, but you will still have to set up those DNS records yourself. Zap Mail is very similar to the Instantly setup and the Premium Inbox setup. They do both Google Workspace and Microsoft 365 accounts and pre-warmed mailboxes. Now, with their plans, they offer you a certain number of mailboxes for purchasing that plan, and you'll be able to buy additional mailboxes at $3.50 per mailbox. So that's initially set up. So if we compare that to Instantly, it was $5 per month with Instantly this is $3.50. Or if you go up to the Pro plan that comes with 100 mailboxes included, it's only going to be $3 per extra mailbox. With pre-warmed, you'll get 30 pre-warmed and then more mailboxes at $66 per mailbox per month. But all you're buying with the pre-warmed is time, and it's just time that they've already set up, already purchased the account. Your benefit of you creating a Google Workspace, you get to select who is sending them. So the downsides of a pre-warmed is that it will come with random names like Barry at supersoftware.com. And supersoftware.com probably has absolutely nothing to do with your business. So you can point to the domain. So when they click on it, they get redirected to your domain. But even then, we've pointed the random domain to your domain. It's still set up to Barry. So you've got to pretend to be Barry on these cold emails. And if someone was to dig a little deeper and try and find Barry on LinkedIn, they're not going to find a Barry because he doesn't exist. So the benefit of creating your own Google Workspace accounts or own email addresses or own domains over the pre-warmed ones is that you've set them up to be you. So if it was me setting it up, I'd set it up as Louis at a domain that's related. So if your address is Magnetite, it will be getmagnetite.com. We want to aim for .com addresses because they get the best deliverability. And if you're going to buy domains, you buy them on Cloudflare. Cool. So that is all of the options for buying reseller accounts of Google Workspace and Microsoft 365. Let's hang on. Just before we jump forward, you can also buy Microsoft 365. So if I was setting up from fresh and I just wanted to get going in cold outreach, you could begin by having 10 Google Workspace accounts, 10 Microsoft Workspace accounts. Brilliant. So I've now got 20 mailboxes. And then maybe to top that up, we could then look at some of our own IPs. So if I wanted to set up 500 emails, doing that through the likes of Google Workspace and Microsoft might end up being quite expensive. You can get 30 of each for $99 a month each, so it'd be $200 a month. Or if you wanted to go for the Pro plan, get 200 email addresses, you'd be looking at $600 a month, which is actually quite a lot of money just for email addresses, email inboxes. Yes, they'd already be set up, they'd already be warning for you, and you'd get better deliverability. However, if I wanted to send significant amounts of emails to a lot of inboxes, then having your own IPs enables you to send more. So that's what we're going to look at next. So interestingly, Smartlead, I've put them at the top because they both do, let me show you. They do smart senders. You can get email providers powered by Zap Mail. That's interesting. So they're just a reseller of Zap Mail. I wouldn't buy these through Smartlead. $4 per mailbox month. You're just paying an extra $1 a month to buy them through Smartlead. You're just paying a little extra. Interesting. With Hyper Inboxes, it's slightly cheaper. Let's have a quick look at Hyper Inbox. Super interesting. Yep. So this is just slightly cheaper than Zap Mail. And I suspect Smartlead are just on this enterprise plan and they're paying $1.50 per mailbox per month and then selling it for $2.50. Cool. So that's Google provided. With Zap Mail, you've got admin access. With Hyper Inboxes and Inbox Automate, I suspect you do not have admin access. And that just means that they are setting you up as secondary emails as opposed to having a complete Google admin workspace that you own yourself. So that would be the benefit of going via Zap Mail. And then you've got an Outlook provider through Infra Inbox and SMT provider through Reef. It's interesting that they're selling per mailbox because we'll come on to Reef very shortly, next in fact, but we'll come into that. But this is the interesting part. They're also selling $40 per server per month for a dedicated IP with optimal performance. I'm very interested to understand what they're offering, as in how many emails you can set up through this. Because theoretically, if they're letting you set up an email server yourself, then you should be able to have unlimited deliverability, but it doesn't actually specify. But the point of having your own IP is you're the only person that sends from that IP. So even if we were to go send from Google Workspace and you're buying reseller domains from the likes of Instantly or Zap Mail or Premium Inbox, whatever emails you send, so even Google Workspace, they have a whole bunch of IP addresses. And when you send via any of these platforms, you're added to one of those IP addresses with a bunch of other senders. Fortunately, if you go through Google Workspace, you're most likely to be sending from an IP that's also sending with a bunch of reputable other businesses. So these are just that have signed up to Google Workspace that are just sending normal business emails. If you're to use a reseller, the resellers get issued a bunch of IP addresses. Salespeople, all of their customers then sell access to that group of IP addresses with the other customers with that reseller sells to. So imagine it this way. Instantly is a reseller of Google, and they've been given 5 different IP addresses. And for each of those IP addresses, they have hundreds of customers that are all selling cold outreach services. And because that, you are sharing an IP address with potentially hundreds of other cold outreachers and people that are just, you don't know the kind of emails these people are sending. And some people just send bulk. Have you heard the phrase, if you can't tie knots, tie lots? It's very similar with cold outreach. If you can't write emails, send lots of emails is a phrase that is common in cold outreach. I suspect you've got a significant number of emails from people sending cold outreach saying, "Hi, I do this. Want to buy it? Here's my number." And those emails just immediately go to your spam, immediately unsubscribe if you can, and you get about 15 of those a day. I suspect your spam folder is currently full of them because these people get reported so much. And you've got to think of it this way. There is hundreds of cold emailers on each of these IPs that these resellers are using. Yes, they will hopefully all be warming through the likes of Instantly and Zap Mail with Reach Inbox. Brilliant. They are warming, so they are sending emails to each other. But your issue remains that there are hundreds of emails that are all doing cold email or sending emails to each other. So all of those emails have negative reputations because all they do, well, a significant number of them, all they do is spam. And even the warm-up processes on those platforms aren't going to be that good because everybody on them is doing cold outreach. So this is an interesting point where mail warming comes in. So with Lemlist, you've got Lemwarm, and that's one of the most reputable warm-up services. You've also got Warmup Inbox is another. Warmup Inbox, they're probably one of the most reputable warm-up systems. But even these guys, I tested them for 2 weeks. $15 per inbox just to warm up. It's very expensive. So people are spending a lot of money. And even with that, like most people in this pool are only trying to warm up their inbox for good reasons. So imagine just companies wanting good deliverabilities on their main domain. That's what this pool is full of because it's $15 per inbox. The likes of Lemlist, you're spending $70 per month per user. So that's per email address. Okay, 3 sending emails per user. So it's divided by 3. So it's around $20 per user. Similar to email warmup, but these provide a lot more. I think you can separately buy Lemwarm, $24 per month, but you get it for free when you buy Lemlist. So it's probably better value for money to use Lemlist because you get a lot more in there. But this is going to be a more reputable warm-up pool than the likes of Instantly because everyone in Instantly is going to be sending cold email. So everyone in there is already the naughty boy in the classroom, you know? So a school of naughty children, if you are the one good person in that school of naughty children, you're likely going to get painted with the same cloth, so to speak. However, the price of warm-up through the likes of Instantly, it's free with your subscription. Unlimited email warm-up for $37 a month. And sending some email warm-up if you're doing cold outreach is better than not sending cold email warm-up. So the wonderful solution would be to have all your emails sending through Warmup Inbox at $15 per month per inbox. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and you will inevitably have to use the same software you're already outreaching on. It's better to have some warm-up than no warm-up. Anyway, I digress. Back to own IPs. So we've had a look at Smartlead. They offer a server, but there's no information on how many emails you get through that. You also may have seen, or we also briefly looked at, how in Smartlead, in Smart Senders, you can spend $5 per mailbox per month through Reef, through an SMTP provider. These guys are interesting because they give you an entire server. So you buy an email server and you can send unlimited emails from unlimited inboxes from your entire server. And they will charge you $240 a month. And they'll also charge you a very small fee for sending each email. And that will ramp up if you're sending a significant quantity of email from that server. So you can imagine an agency just buying one of these servers and sending all of their clients' emails from that one server. They can set up as many emails and as many domains on that server as they wish. And that one domain is managed by them. Theoretically, they could connect all of their emails to Warmup Inbox to get better deliverability, which would be really, really clever because they'd get better deliverability. But even so, every single one of their emails is coming from that one IP. So if they were to be a reseller, for example, Smartlead, who knows how many servers these guys have purchased? I suspect they've probably purchased maybe one, maximum of 2 servers, and they're charging you $5 per mailbox per month, which is quite a lot of money considering these guys are probably spending $240 a month. Maybe they've got an enterprise deal, but they could just be spending $240 a month and lumping everyone on the same server. So who knows what the deliverability is really like through that. Interesting. So they're an option for having an entire IP just to yourself. The benefit of that is no one else is sending from that IP, only you. So you could just spend $240 a month and theoretically have 100 different domains, and in each domain you have 5 emails. So then you've got 500 emails ready to start sending. And it's very scalable and it's very, very quick to set up in Reef. You just connect the domains you want. You can buy them separately. If you're going to buy them separately, I recommend doing it through Cloudflare because they have the best deliverability. But if you wanted to set them up straight through Reef, they may even buy them directly through Cloudflare with Reef. However, Cloudflare do not like using their API to purchase domains, so we can't guarantee that. They're more likely being purchased through the likes of Route 53 via AWS, even if they're then moved to Cloudflare. But they're not the only one doing this. So Maildoso are also set up custom IPs, I believe. Let's go to their main home. What do they say? We've got your back with IP rotation. Okay, so not entirely your own IPs. They rotate the IPs for you and set up email for you. But even so, their pricing isn't too bad. So 68 mailboxes for $166 a month. You'd still probably be cheaper with Reef. It's good that they've got mailbox rotation checks, but it's very easy to check reputation with free online tools. This is interesting. Add premium AI warmup to your package. So this may be using email warmup to warm up your inboxes. This is something that Reef do not actually do. They don't offer warm-up services. You're entirely in charge of warming up yourself, so you can bring it into Instantly and use the Instantly warm-up. However, if you were to use Maildoso and add this warm-up, if this uses the likes of email warm-up, then you're going to likely be in a warm-up group of people that are mainly using warm-up purposes of their primary domains. However, it's also likely that it says only Google and Outlook mailboxes, which isn't true for email warmup. So more likely is that these are their own warmup email inboxes that they've set up and sending emails. And what's interesting is we don't know where these Google and Outlook mailboxes are coming from. If they've set them up through Instantly or another one of these platforms, you're going to get the same issue because it will be still coming from a reseller. Cool. So that's Maildoso. Let's have a look at InfoMail. 3 dedicated IPs ready to go. Interesting. So these do dedicated IPs and they're significantly cheaper. 1 dedicated IP, unlimited email inboxes. So this is very similar to Reef, but it's cheaper. So it's $99 per IP. However, I've not heard too much about these guys, but it's a cheaper version of Reef. InfoForge is part of the Forge family. So they've got SendForge, MailForge. SendForge, I've not heard any good things about. It's just a cold outreach software, but I wouldn't use it because Instantly is going to be a lot better than that. So is Smartlead. They've tried to offer their own email infrastructure options. So they started with MailForge, and that was just reselling emails from another reseller of emails. And they ended up with really, really bad deliverability. So they launched InfoForge, which is a version of Reef where you send from your own IPs, but it's significantly more expensive than your other options. And I hear that Reef is a lot better deliverability. So I wouldn't recommend these guys, mainly based on the absolute fail that MailForge ended up to be. And I feel their epic fail with MailForge and their abysmal deliverability with MailForge, and the fact that you did hit errors when trying to send through MailForge, and it was errors on their side for sending too many emails, because they were trying to limit the amount of emails they could send in order to maintain the deliverability of the email. But they didn't tell you about that, so it would just fail silently. As a result, I wouldn't recommend these guys. If I'm honest, the best I've seen so far is the fact that these guys have their own warm-up system. But again, if you're warming them up, it says high quality warm-up. Sorry, this is Maildoso. If it's only Google Outlook mailboxes and has nothing to do with their other IPs, then maybe these ones are a go, but we'll still talk through better options. Okay, so that's InfraForge. What about MailScale? Agencies, B2B firms can succeed with call through these email inboxes. So their pricing is, let's go monthly. So 50 email inboxes. It doesn't say if they're custom IPs. It doesn't say what they are. This could just be the same thing as MailForge and they're reselling another provider. Okay, Excalibur. I wouldn't recommend MailScale. Why do we recommend MailRail? InfraMail. Yes, these are dedicated IPs that are slightly cheaper. So they seem all right. These would be a lot of work, but they'd be the best deliverability. That'd be the cheapest if you wanted to own your own, have IPs that aren't shared with people who are just doing cold outreach. These three, if you want an easy option, but you will share IPs with, let's move these guys away. They're a no-go. These, if you want a slow solution that's got the best deliverability and is the hardest setup, you've got to set it all up yourself, go with one of these. If you want a quick solution that is already set up in your software and you can instantly get it warming with pretty good deliverability, I'd go with one of these. I don't think I'd recommend Smartlead because they are just a reseller. Maildoso is a maybe. I'd recommend having a conversation with them first. Reef is probably your best solution if you want to own an IP yourself and you want someone else to set it all up for you. So the good thing is about Reef, Maildoso, and InfraMail is they will also set up your SPF, DMARC, or your DNS settings. They'll do it all for you. However, if you want the likes of Reef ability, your own custom IP, then your best possible option is going to be to set up your own custom servers. I'm going to set up I'll create a new video on exactly how to do that, but that includes setting up a server. You can use Hetzner. Hetzner is very cheap, and you can ask them to unblock the mail sending ports, and then you'll just set up something like MailCow, which is a Docker run email server, and you can instantly spin up as many emails and connect as many domains as you want. Just buy them through Cloudflare because they're the most reputable, and you can set up hundreds of emails, and it will cost you all of around $10 a month. So if you're looking at Reef, they're the closest that you're going to get to what this provides, and that is $240 a month, and then it costs you per sending email. This would be around $10 a month, and it'll be free to send every email. The only issue there is it's quite a long setup process. I'll create a whole video about it. We'll set up a bunch of domains together. So it's going to be quite a laborious process. We'll try and use Claude to write some code to do as much of it automated as we can. We'll set up some email servers, but then your issue is warming up those email servers. So your best option to warm them up would be to use Warmup Inbox. And at $15 per inbox, that's quite a lot. However, if you are warming them up in bulk, then that price rapidly comes down to between $3 and $5 per email. So that's still expensive on the grand scale of things. However, we can set up 200 emails across 3 or 4 different IPs that you entirely own and have each email address in a premium warm-up pool, and your delivery is going to be better than all of those other options. So yeah, that is the entire email outlook of things. Please do check out my next video on where I take you through the whole custom setup of email infrastructure. That's all from me, and thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.